point. So we are recording. Acha. Now, सबसे पहले what we're going to talk about is uh, the writing approach. Because the tasks that you have are not as demanding in 0510, sorry, and so, right, it still applies, it still does apply. So, right, so this is 0510 Cambridge English as a second language. So the first step in writing anything is collecting ideas. Now, if you've done this earlier in your school, or if you're still doing it at school, right, you may make a cloud or like a web or bullet points or however you prefer, right? But the point is that you collect your ideas, and in collecting your ideas, not only you're going to talk about, the main points of whatever the topic is, you're also going to talk about, for example, the vocabulary that you want to use. So that's important, right? And for vocabulary, I explained the last time that there's general vocabulary and then there's topic specific vocabulary. You guys can see the whiteboard, right? Have I shared the whiteboard, or am I just talking into the air?
No,
No,
sir, we
sir.
can't see the whiteboard.
Oh, sorry about that. Now can you see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alright. So, right, there is, right, general vocabulary and topic specific vocabulary. Right? So that is you're collecting ideas, and then you're also going to write for the main points. You're also going to figure out the sequence in which you're going to mention what's going to happen. Again, because you only have 120 to 160 words, that is not at all a lot. It is not a lot, right? And so, there is not going to be too much information that you'll be able to give, but still, right, to be able to, the whole point is to organize yourself. And trust me, this organization is reflected in your writing. It shows up in your writing, right? A student who wrote it without collecting ideas, without doing the brainstorming or mind mapping or flow charting or whatever you want to call it, and a student who actually did that and organized their ideas and then wrote it down, the difference in the writing is very clear for a teacher. Okay? The next step
Okay, sir.
is writing a rough draft. Right? So basically what you do, whatever the task is, you write it out. For some reason my whiteboard is lagging, but we'll make it work. So write out the task as required. For example, we have that informal email, right? Write a letter to a friend about purchasing something online and what was wrong with it and why you purchased it and what you're going to do about it. And so the format, right? You write it out just as you're supposed to write it out. But after that, you reread it and check for errors. And there are definitely going to be errors, right? I don't know if there's any person who, right, as far as errors are concerned, whenever you write something and you go and take a look at it, you're always like, yeah, I should have written this would have been better, right? Now the level at which something is being written obviously depends on who's writing, right? So me writing something is obviously going to be different from you writing something, but that is not the point. When I do some work, even I go back and check what I've written, because that is the writing approach, that is the writing procedure. And you're going to correct mistakes and mistakes aren't the only thing you're going to look for, but as far as correcting mistakes are concerned, you're going to look at your tenses, your spellings, right, your punctuations, and your organization. You're going to correct mistakes and you're going to possibly make improvements. You're going to read it and you're like, maybe I can change this to make it better, right? So maybe you want to add something, maybe you want to remove something, right, or change it, right? Either you want to remove it entirely or you want to remove that and put something else in its place. That is the approach. Once you've done all of that, then you write out what is called the final draft, right? So write out the task, right, after corrections, after checking. So the end result, right, after doing all of this, after, all the improvements, all the corrections, everything, and then what you have at the end, you're going to write it again, because obviously your corrections are going to make the writing messy, right? Now, and so the final draft that you're going to end up having is going to be much improved. Now here's the question. Sir, can we do this during the exam? No, you don't have enough time. Then sir, why are we doing this now? Because you're learning and you're practicing. If you follow this procedure during your preparation, then your writing will improve, and then obviously finally, right, the extra step over here is teacher's corrections. Right, and so I will check it for content, grammar, language, right, and I might also give you suggestions. Oh, right, and very important, task completion. So have you done everything that you were asked to do? And so with my suggestions, with my feedback, your writing will keep on improving, hopefully, inshallah. And when you get to the exam, what you're going to do is that you're still going to do the collecting ideas, but you'll give it maybe like a few minutes, 2 to 3 minutes maybe. Okay? And what else you're going to do is you're going to do the final draft. It won't be exactly final, because what you write out, you will still go back and check it, and you will try to make minor corrections. And the way you're going to make minor corrections is, for example, you've written a line, for example, you've written, I saw my brother has a new pencil. Okay? This is a line that you wrote in your email or report or whatever it is that you did. Now you go back and check this and you say like, oh wait, right, my tenses are wrong. Right? I've written this as past tense and you are telling something that's already happened, so it will be in past tense. But this is written as has, which is present tense, so this is wrong. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to do this? Or no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to scribble like that. Okay? Now you don't have the Control Z feature in your on paper and pencil. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to cross it out neatly with your pen, right? A single horizontal line or maybe 2 vertical lines to make it clear that this is something that you have removed. And on top of it, you can do this. You just write had. Okay? And that's it. So very neatly cut it out, make that correction. You are not going to lose marks for this. Right? The only criteria that Cambridge has for your writing is that the examiner should be able to read your handwriting, so it should be legible. right? And any corrections you make should not be messy in the sense that the examiner won't be able to make head or tail of what's going on. If you neatly cut it out, right? If you want to cut out like three entire lines, like, oh no, I'm going to cut out these lines that I just wrote, right? So those are the ending lines from here to here. And so you just keep a ruler with you. You're allowed to take a ruler to the exam. So keep a ruler, take your pen or pencil, just strike out those lines with a horizontal line neatly, and then continue writing from here. Okay? That is how you make corrections during your exam. So
Okay, sir.
it's not like you won't make corrections, because you want to make corrections because you want to give something that is of good quality to get that grade. Acha. Now, as far as your task is concerned, I said that you'll be submitting a doc format, but because your exam is written, what you will do is step 1, you will write it out on paper. Okay? And that is because your exam is a physical written exam, right? It's not computer based. I've heard that they're introducing computer based exams in a few years, but even then they will start with MCQs, right? So still the writing portion will be physical on paper, and you're going to follow the writing approach. Or the writing process. And then when you're done with it, with the final draft, you're going to type out the final draft and upload it on the Google Classroom. Now, I know it's an extra effort for you, but the reason I'm asking for the typed version is, again, right, it's easier to correct because you're doing everything online, right? Corrections are easier, and that will help you because I can type something in green, I can turn something red, I can underline it, I can add something, or right, and so I can explain that, and it will be better for you to understand. Okay, fine, so this is wrong, this was changed, this is a suggestion, I should change this to this. Okay, so that's that. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Afan?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to focus on the writing task today, even though I gave it last class. But right, so what I'm going to do right now is actually I'm going to move on to a grammar topic, because I feel, right, we have the time, and a bit of grammar revision is always good. I do that when I start teaching at school as well. Right, the lowest class I have. So, right, for example, right now I'm teaching. Right, the lowest class I have is grade 9, which is the starting of the O level or IGCSE years, and I always include grammar revision. Right, so I just completed parts of speech in one of my classes today. Right, that's something very basic, but I still do it. So what we're going to do, hopefully we don't need to do parts of speech, right? But if I feel that we need to, I'll get to it. Right now I'm going to start with something else, something basic as well, and that is subject verb agreement. Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Yes, I know. Is she there? Alright, Afan, can you tell me what subject verb agreement is?
Like I think it's a singular, like a person and then a pronoun or then a verb.
Uh,
Like he speaks, I say.
okay, so basically, I mean, if you go into detail, there's a lot, but right, I'm not going to go into like complete detail about subject verb agreement, all the grammatical ifs and buts. But basically, subject-verb agreement applies to the third person singular, right? With the present tense mostly. I say mostly because there's the ifs and buts. So, right, the structure, the basic requirements of a sentence. Right? What makes up a sentence? What is the basic requirement of a sentence? Can you tell me? Aima?
Uh,
Are you there? Chalo, Afan, you tell me.
I think subject, verb, adjective, object.
It is subject and verb. Right? Now, normally in school they teach you and object, but that is not a basic requirement. Okay? Whether or not you need an object depends on the kind of verb you're using, whether it's transitive or intransitive, right? So basically the requirement is a subject and a verb. Sorry? Acha. Now, which part of speech does the verb, the subject belong?
What do you mean by part?
Part of speech, right? You've got nouns, pronouns, adverbs, adjectives, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections.
Pronoun.
Okay, so the subject can be a noun or a pronoun. Okay, and the verb is obviously it is a verb, right? But it can be past, present, or future. For the sake of our lesson, we are only concerned with the present. So, right, what are nouns? Nouns are names of things, people, places, ideas, right? And pronouns are words that replace nouns, right? Like he, she, they, we, us, I. Now, as I said, we're on, right? The subject verb agreement applies to when we're talking about third person singular in present tense. So there's the present tense. Now, what do you mean by third person singular? So we're talking about he, she, it, right? In terms of pronouns,
Yes.
for pronouns and names, because when you name someone, right, that basically becomes third person. Because if I'm talking about myself, I will not take my name. I will not say Zishan is, teaching. I'm teaching. I am teaching. If you are referring to me, you will not say Sir Zishan is teaching. You will say Sir, you are teaching. Right? But if the two of you, Aima and Afan, you are talking to each other, then you're going to refer to my name like Sir Zishan is teaching. Taking my name makes me third person. Okay?
Yes, sir. We can use he.
He is a pronoun. Yes, he is teaching. Right? She is quiet. Right? It is, well, raining over here in Karachi since morning. Okay. Now, with all of that done, let's make sentences. Okay? So as I said, a basic concept, but students tend to make this mistake very often, very often. So I have a question about Afan asking questions. Over here I've given you two options, ask and asks. Okay? Which one would be correct?
Asks.
Asks. Right? That is the correct option.
Or you could put ask if you're like giving order of unasked questions.
No, that will change the context. Okay? We're talking about
Okay.
normal,
Sir,
statement type
sir,
questions. Yes.
sir, if you're talking to the third person, for example, you're telling me that Afan asks questions.
Hmm.
But if you are saying or if you're stating this sentence to Afan, you would say Afan ask a question,
Yes, and
right?
that is why I said that our topic of discussion revolves around the third person.
Yes, I was just clearing.
Okay. Okay. So then we have, right, if you're using a pronoun, we have she, uh, again, right, so we know what the answer is going to be. Right, she read or she reads every day. What's the correct verb that to use?
She reads every day.
She,
She reads every day.
with the s or without the s at the end?
S with the S.
With the s. Okay. Right. So yes, that is the correct one. She reads. And so, Sai, why is this? Now the question is why. Okay. The reason is that in nouns and also pronouns, you have singular and plural. Right? And normally for singular nouns such as boy, right, building, book, right, there is no s. Whereas the plural form, boys, buildings, and books, has the s. But for verbs, it is different. And again, verbs in the present tense. Keep that in mind. Mostly, not always, mostly. The singular form has an S. Reads, asks. Give me another word. Right? Let's take a fancy one. Ponders. The plural form will be without the S. Read, ask, ponder. Okay? So you can see that the singular form of the verb has the S and the plural form does not have S. There seems to be a question. Who has a question? Someone has a question?
No.
No question? Acha. Now keep in mind that right, with nouns, it's not only just the s. There are other nouns that have plurals with es or ies. Right, for example, you've got candies and buses. There seems to be a lot of nouns with b. So the singular for buses is bus, and so I'm adding an es over here. The singular for candies is candy with a y. Right, I remove the y and add an ies. So it's not just having an s, right? Whatever makes the plural, the es or the ies. And similarly for verbs as well, right? You've got verbs such as studies, right? The plural is study, right? And so verbs, the singular form can also have es or ies at the end, right? The point is, right, it's kind of opposite for nouns and verbs. Nouns, singular form, no s, es, ies, plural form has it. Verbs, singular form has s, es or ies, plural form does not have it. And as I mentioned, right, the plural form of the verb applies to first person, second person, right, and third person plural, right? So I read, you read, they read, but he reads, she reads, it reads. So the whole, the difference in the singular and plural of the verb comes down to the third person singular. Okay? And so you can go on with that and use any verb and any, right? The student ponders, right? So that's third person because you're saying the student, right? But you take someone's name. You ponder. No, taking someone's name is third person. You ponder, I ponder, they ponder, we ponder, right? And so all of those, right, will use the plural form of the verb. It is only the third person singular form, whether it's noun or pronoun, right, that will use the singular form of the verb. And that becomes important in sentences. Oh, interesting. I didn't know I could do that. Nice. I just discovered something. I'm so happy. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
for today, are we having any past paper to do or
Uh,
just to attend lecture?
I will refer you back to the email. Right? So I'm just going to write one or two sentences just to make this clear, even though it is clear. Say problem is, and it will show up probably in your writing, hopefully not, but I've got others that I can show as samples, right? And similar to the example I gave you, right? These lines are nice. I didn't know I could do that. Okay. So, right, I actually come across these kinds of mistakes. Students write, he takes, right, or I takes. He takes is correct. I take. And obviously, this is wrong. I take. If you're writing in present tense, right? I mean, students write even weirder stuff. They write, he tooks or tooked, which I don't know how they came up with that, but they did.
Yes, sir, but it's like double past tense.
And there is no such thing as a double past tense. So basically, that's wrong.
Yeah, and
Took
Yeah,
is also took is already the past tense.
exactly.
Took. What is took?
Yeah, it's nothing, right? So students come up with their own past tense. So you've got buy, and then you've got bought, right? And students actually, I've seen this written in copies. He botted. Like what? He botted. Okay. And so it goes beyond subject verb agreement, right? It just goes on like knowing your verbs, right? Knowing the past present form of verbs, the third form, the past participle of the verbs that you are using. Okay. And so this is one of the things that we need to polish and refine in our writing. Again, hopefully I'll be like super happy if you guys don't make these kind of mistakes. But if you do, right, our focus will be on improving, right, and so refining ourselves so that we don't make these kind of mistakes. Acha. Now homework, right? I'm going to refer you to the specimen paper, which is what I did. Afan, have you done it from last time?
No.
Okay. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
for last class, you said that we'll do it in next class. You'll tell me the format and things.
Oh, I did. Okay. So I'll share that. I'm going to stop recording or maybe yeah, I'll see. Right? Maybe I'll pause recording. I'll see. So specimen 2024 for obviously is the 0510. Right? Exercise number 5, which is the informal email. Now on the group
Sir, can you share the paper?
beta, that's what I was saying. The message that I sent you that has the meeting link also has the link for my Google Drive. ठीक है ना? And the past papers and resources are currently available on the Google Drive. Okay, so you can go there, you can look up specimen 2024. In fact, I'll share my screen and show that to you. So just let me pause the recording at least.